Welcome to No Boundaries travel
One,
presentation of
two,
their
three,
specialty trip
4.
to Santiago, Spain, and walking the Camino de Santiago. No Boundaries offers special designed trips for multi-generation travelers and persons with health and mobility issues. At the end of this presentation, we will provide more information on other No Boundaries trips, as well as a more complete description of who we are and what services we offer. I hope that this presentation sparks your interest in being part of history and walking the Camino de Santiago. The Camino de Santiago is a pilgrimage. A pilgrimage is a journey inward as well as outward. Pilgrims seek to strengthen and renew their faith through travel. The difference between a vacation or a hike and a pilgrimage is a vacation is a means to an end, and pilgrims travel for different reasons. Walking for days or weeks gives you time to sort out life, whether it is to soothe a grief, exhaust a grudge, make an important life decision, seek new insight, or to simply recharge your life spirit. You will meet people of all faiths or no faith at all on their way to Santiago. Everyone walks for their own reasons, spiritual or otherwise, and everyone is called a pilgrim on the Camino. The Camino de Santiago has several routes, but the most popular and thought to be the original is the Camino Francis. 72% of all pilgrims take this route to Santiago, and 21% start in Sarria. The Camino de Santiago in English means the way of St. James. It is called this for two reasons. First, after the crucifixion of Jesus, all the disciples fled to their native homelands. St. James made his way to what is currently France and walked the Camino Francis route to Santiago and then continued to evangelize into Finisterre. He was later buried in Santiago in 44 AD, and he lay at rest until the war between the Christians and the Moors over what is current Spain became vast fighting. In 778, Charles the Great Charlemagne crossed the Pyrenees to stop the advance of the Muslim domination with the help of St. James' image and his miracles. And between 1100 and 1212, St. James appeared at the critical moments to turn the tide of battles. On the strength of those successes, St. James became the patron saint of Spain, a position that he enjoys to today. The first written record of a pilgrimage to Santiago is in 950 AD, but the first documented Compostela is dated 1140 AD, a tradition that continues in Latin to today. As rewarding as the 490 pilgrimage is, it requires considerable time and the Pyrenees can be very challenging. To be considered a completer and obtain your historic proof of completion, your own Compostela, you must have 2 stamps per day proving your walk from a minimum of 100 kilometers. This requires starting in Sarria and walking to Santiago. So for those with either time or physical constraints, many begin the walk in Sarria. This route is relatively flat with a few challenging points. It can be completed as few as 4 days, but the average casual walker will complete it in 6 days, on our trip more or less if required. No Boundaries will offer a van that will be available to carry your backpack and supplies from albergue to albergue, which is a historic type of bunkhouse. You will have to carry any supplies for the day, rain gear, water, snacks, etc. You will also have to stop for lunch or coffee at your expense throughout each day to get your first passport stamp. The second stamp will come from the albergue at the end of each day. There will be a guide at the back of the pack that will have the ability to call for pickup for anyone that may need van assistance to finish out the day. Dinner and breakfast will be provided either at a restaurant if the albergue has one, or cooked by staff or pilgrims as a pilgrim's meal. Many parts of the Camino de Santiago, you will be in solitude and walking through some very beautiful parts of Spain. No Boundaries offers trips during the slow season, so fewer people will be on the path, but we could encounter more rain. Many churches line the small towns along the walk. Most have doors open for pilgrims to pray or take a rest. These churches have history dating back to the times of the Templar, and many have Templar stained glass windows and markings within their structure. And if you're lucky, the priest will give you a blessing during your visit. No Boundaries will provide you with a list of supplies that you need after an evaluation of the needs of the group. Once we arrive in Santiago, we will obtain your pilgrim's passport and your shell. You will also be given a pilgrim's guide that gives you detailed maps and directions for each day. A guide will also be at the end of the group for anyone that does not want to walk alone or needs some special assistance. A pilgrim's passport is your lifeline to getting your certificate of completion, your Compostela. You must have 2 stamps per day to get this honor. You will also be required to hang your shell from your day pack each day. You literally walk looking for yellow arrows or yellow shells. They are painted everywhere. You just have to keep an eye out to not miss a turn. We will be staying in albergues, which are basically bunkhouses with a shared bathroom. It is possible in some locations to upgrade to a private room when you arrive and pay the difference to the albergue. The cost can be between $5 and $10 per person for a private room, and most have a private bath. And this will be on a first-come, first-served basis. These are 2 examples of a pilgrim's passport as well as a shell. In order to stay in pilgrim's accommodations and to receive your Compostela, you need to provide proof that you walked the route to Santiago. You get the stamps along the way in restaurants, bars, hotels, albergues, many churches, just about anywhere. You then present your passport in Santiago for your Compostela. A scallop shell is a pilgrim's badge. It tells other pilgrims and local citizens you're on your way to Santiago de Compostela. Pilgrims have been walking these same steps for 1,000 years, and you will be surprised with the support and help that locals will give you when they realize that you're a pilgrim. These are examples of shell signage. From Sarria, every major town or kilometer counts down to Santiago. The Camino is very well marked, and it's very easy to follow. These are examples of yellow arrows painted in various locations. They can literally be anywhere, on the ground, on a building, on a rock, etc. This is the albergue in Sarria. It is a bunkhouse type. Depending upon the number in the group and the sex of those members, it may be possible to get men and women in different rooms, but it is not a guarantee. There are separate rooms and showers, and believe it or not, the beds are pretty comfortable. This is an example of a private room with a shared bath, but most do have private baths. 1 double bed with a towel and blankets. Some may have twin beds. Most of the private rooms will have heat or air conditioning that may not be available in the albergue, and many have washers and dryers. And the restaurant in this albergue is exceptionally good. Some locations will have a restaurant and maybe even a bar. If it's available, meals will be included. If the location does not have a restaurant, we will cook community meals for dinner and for breakfast. So why walk the Camino? You can be walking with a spiritual intention, to soothe the grief, trying to get direction on where your life is taking you, wanting to be part of something that has been walked for centuries, a sense of accomplishment, community, being part of history, gaining a Compostela. Whatever your reason, this trip will not disappoint. It will challenge you, it will strengthen you, will push you, and educate you. They say that whatever the intention, that you will not be the same after you complete it. There is an energy present on this path that is inspiring and comforting. Walking alone at the time of year that we will be going, or walking with others, there is a peace present that is unexplainable. It's eerie at times. The things you will see have a history and a life of their own, and it's a very, very powerful presence. From the vast openness to the small towns, they offer an amazing look into another culture. Historic churches and monuments that have been seen and visited for 1,000 years. Peaceful and powerful, all at the same time. As peaceful as many parts, the Camino will challenge you. There are many long stretches of open walking. Feelings of alone, and depending upon the weather, could be a challenge of cold and mud. You will be assured that you will experience many emotions during your walk, but all will lead to an inner peace and a greater connection to yourself and your Creator. It will be accomplished when you make that last left turn to the Santiago Cathedral Square. And if you're going on to Finisterre, the challenge is greater as the terrain is much more difficult and the days are much longer. But it's just as rewarding. And you will receive a second Compostela for your journey, again, with 2 stamps per day. One of the historic traditions of the Camino is to carry a stone from home and leave it somewhere along the Camino. Some even paint their name, someone else's name, a word or a message on that stone. The reasons for leaving the stone vary from pilgrim to pilgrim. Some might carry the stone to symbolize the carrying of a personal grief, and after leaving the stone behind, they hope that it helps relieve the grief behind them too. Others place their stone to mark a spot where the purpose of their journey is fulfilled, after reaching an important decision or after experiencing an aha moment. You can also carry stones for those that are not able to make the journey. You can place those stones anywhere along the Camino. Many people place them on top of way markers or fence posts, and you can say a prayer while leaving the stone and leaving your burdens behind you. Another significant to history on the Camino is that of the Knights of the Templar. One of the primary functions of the Knights of the Templar were to protect pilgrims from thieves along the Camino. Many Templar structures remain today. Only a few are after the 115-kilometer starting point, but a few churches along the route still have stained glass Templar swords. The Templars met their demise, according to much power, according to Pope Gregory, on Friday the 13th, 1307. Most were arrested and put to death, but their history and significance to this pilgrimage is huge and ever present throughout the journey, as well as our negative feelings towards Friday the 13th. The Compostela has been given since 1140 AD. The one on the left is dated 1400 and is present at the museum in Santiago. The Compostela is all in Latin and will have your Latin name written on it as a completer, as well as the date of completion and from where you started your journey. After completing the 115 kilometers in Santiago and attending the Pilgrim's Mass at the cathedral, we will make our way to Finisterre. We will visit Finisterre either by foot, for those who want a few more days, or by bus. If walking, you will have no van support and have to carry or acquire all of your supplies during the trek. It is a very difficult few days with little along the Camino, but that is the rewarding part. It is amazingly beautiful and a once-in-a-lifetime journey. Finisterre is the westernmost land point in Europe, and it is considered the end of the earth by many early Europeans, and it is still labeled it on many current maps. Some of the highlights of Finisterre include: it is a tradition to burn your pilgrim's clothing, or a piece of it, after reaching the shore. A local government council even provides a fire pit for this ritual, ending of the old and beginning of something new. The Camino 00 way marker is also located in front of the lighthouse on the rocky edge of the Atlantic Ocean. You will not find more beautiful sunsets or sunrises than at this location. Very few pilgrims walk to Finisterre, which is a shame for those that are fit for the journey. You must have 2 stamps per day to receive the additional Compostela. And besides the end of the world, the end of the Camino de Santiago marker is here as well. And it is also thought to be where the last sermon of St. James was given. Whether by bus or by foot, the way to Finisterre is very secluded and amazingly beautiful. The first glimpse of the ocean is a welcome sight. Still a ways to Finisterre, but you can see the finish from here. The last mile from the small town of Finisterre up to the lighthouse is a must-see, and for those that still have a mile walk in them, it's magnificent. You pass a significant local church and the site of the last sermon of St. James, as well as the 00 waymarker, indicating the end of the Camino de Santiago. The Finisterre Lighthouse has the first international peace pole in Europe. For those that may want to stay a night in a place of significant history, it can be arranged to stay in one of the 5 rooms in the lighthouse. But whether staying in the lighthouse or walking up early, the sunrise and the sunset are second to none. After all is complete in Santiago and Finisterre, we will make our way home via Madrid, Spain. We will spend 2 nights in Madrid. There are many things that you may choose to see while there, but one is to travel via train to Toledo. This town was founded in 550 BC. It is known for its religious tolerance and has produced swords and weaponry for the Romans and the Vikings, and centuries to be the best and largest sword and weaponry producer in the world. I will tell you from experience that this is a once-in-a-lifetime journey. Take the opportunity because you can. We can build a trip for just about anyone to complete, up to and including just riding in the van and taking in the experience without obtaining the Compostela. The Camino de Santiago is in fact a once-in-a-lifetime experience. It will bless you, it will challenge you, you'll be happy you're doing it, and wondering why in the world you thought this was a good idea, all on the same day. There is a peace and a presence on this path that is not explainable. Millions have walked this path for 1,000 years. They have prayed, cried, left their burdens, and found new hope and renewed their spirit. If you're being drawn to the Camino, take the chance in this opportunity and expand your belief in yourself and your faith. One historic guarantee is that you will never be the same after the experience. This is the conclusion of the Camino de Santiago presentation. I hope it has given you a taste of the Camino and its history. The following slides are further information on No Boundaries, as well as other trips that might interest you. Our contact information and website are listed on the first slide. Please feel free to contact us with any questions. No question is too big or small. We have many more pictures, stories, and our Compostelas if you'd like to see them. No Boundaries offers custom trips to Ecuador. Options include visiting the surf towns of Montañita, poor man's Galapagos, whale watching and seeing the rare blue-footed and red-footed boobies and frigate birds. It is also possible to book a cruise to go to the Galapagos or a fair-hopping visit to the islands at your own pace. Other options in Ecuador is traveling to the highlands and visiting South America's most visited town of Quito with a day trip to the equator. 2 highlights of the highlands are several days in Banos at the foot of a current and active volcano and its thermal pools and high mineral-rich nutrients that locals say alleviate anything from muscular pain to kidney ailments. Visiting Otavalo's market is one of Ecuador's most popular destinations. It is the largest market in South America where locals still wear traditional clothing and cling to their heritage. Staying the night before the market in a local hotel assures the best prices and most authentic atmosphere. This lets you watch the locals come in from the mountains, set up their stands, and be the first to shop on Saturday. No Boundaries also offers trips to Peru. 2 destinations include the 7th wonder of the world, Machu Picchu. Guests can get to Machu Picchu by hiking the very difficult Inca Trail or via the train from Cusco. The trip can be split, where some hike and some take the train, all meeting in Machu Picchu to tour the experience together and then all traveling back via the train. Another exciting trip while in Peru is visiting Lake Titicaca and the Uros floating islands. It is possible to take a boat to an island and stay with local families and learn their local customs and live within their culture for a day or two. Adventure activities can include a bike ride from Banos to Puyo, which is actually in the Amazon. This ride is through the Andes and one of the top adventure activities in the world. The road is called the Route of the Waterfalls because of the more than 60 waterfalls you pass along the way. This is also a trip that some can do via the bike and others via van. Seeing the same landscape, mountains, waterfalls, eating lunch together in a small town, and all having the same experience, just modifying those that can't or don't want to ride a bike through the Andes. Horseback riding is another popular way to see things that you couldn't see any other way. In Peru, one can visit ruins that are accessible only by horse, and in Ecuador, a ride up the side of an active volcano is an awesome experience with amazing views. Zip lines in Ecuador are everywhere. Several offer logistics that those with mobility issues can participate. They also let you zip via head first in the Superman position, or even upside down for those who want a thrill. And the equipment is better and newer than any I've used in the States. Another exciting trip during June to October in Ecuador is whale watching. The shallow, warm waters draw hundreds of humpback whales to have their babies. June and July are the most active months, where you can see hundreds of whales and baby whales swimming off the coast. No Boundaries provides itineraries for any type of traveler, but our primary focus is on generational travel and custom trips for those with mobility challenges. No Boundaries will assess your group's needs, age differences, ability levels, and areas of interest, and create a trip that no one feels like they are holding anyone back and no one feels like they have missed out on any local experiences. We do this by modifying whatever is necessary so all can have the same experience. As long as an individual can transfer, we can create a trip for them or their group. For example, on the Camino, anyone with a scooter can ride the last 2 miles to the lighthouse in Finisterre, and we can create towing devices for those needing assistance on the Inca Trail, and we can arrange for extra assistance such as private transportation or a personal escort if necessary. Our goal is to create a family or group experience where everyone can experience as many of the same things as possible by modifying for limitations and physical challenges. We have escorted trips with age differences from 16 years old to 78 years old and created trips for those that are the most active to those with heart and vascular issues. Please contact us with any questions, and thank you for your interest in No Boundaries and the Camino de Santiago.